Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Live on Performance Links for the Performance Link GT3 Cup. We are currently at round number 5 in the Nurburgring Gemstrek 24 hours on an early Sunday morning race here. I mean, this is going to be one of the hotly contested one from a driver's point of view for this season. I think every single driver was looking forward to it. Very varying abilities are probably going to be seen in this race today. But my name is Andy Thompson. I'm joined alongside me with Mr. Dave Whitehouse. And in the production box, we got Lewis Aurora. Dave, the Nordschleifer, it's going to be an interesting one, mate.
Oh, it certainly is. Hello, everybody, and welcome to what is going to be certainly a long race for these drivers. Well, we say long race, it's 7 laps pretty much of this circuit, but because it's such a long circuit, 25 kilometers in length as the stats show there, near the city of Nurburgring in Germany, and what a circuit it is. We spoke to the drivers. We were both in the test session actually yesterday, giving it a go ourselves, and you know, it was certainly an interesting session trying to watch the other drivers try and get a lap in, not invalidate it, try and get not crash, and use the curbs as you need to do, and they're not even having to say the corner names. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for all of us.
It certainly is, and you made a very good, valid point there. You know, the Nordschleifer's got like 10 different sectors in it, the longest track that we're certainly going to be doing in our championship anyway. And like you said, them corners are absolutely treacherous out there. But before we get into today's racing, let's have a look at the current championship standings. The drop rounds have been applied now, so we can see it as it is at the moment. At the top of the pros, we got Thomas Cope on 71 points. Matty Chambers there in second place on 70. Arius Germantis in third. Oscar Christiansen in fourth. Elliot Hellier there in fifth. Scott Mokes in sixth. Aaron Powell in seventh. Harry Wills in eighth. Jake Behrens in ninth. And Kim Andre Borkland rounding out your top 10 in the pro standings.
Yeah, as we move on to Pro-Am standings, and Patrick Thompson taking a 3-point lead into this over Michael Hooper. We've had a good battle between them so far this season. James Logston, just a little bit unfortunate not to have more points on the board ahead of Max Wolf and Russ Fowler. Tom Stevens, Casper Tunstad, both shown really strong form lately, so they'll be interested to see how those get on. Tom Bingham, our very own god of the championship, is there in 8th place. Slow start to the season, but then last week really did put in a good effort, but had a disconnect which didn't really help him out. Jimmy Vark and Alex Scarat alone rounding out the top 10.
And looking across at the amateurs at the moment, and Steve Pearce with a commanding lead at the moment over Gordon Haig in second place, Joe Sall in third, Sander Island in fourth, Darren Doherty in fifth, Mad Sayer in sixth, Chris Ranson seventh, Nicholas Gronstrom in eighth, Nigel Stock in ninth, and Odvid Bredvik in 10th place.
And the last class, but not the least, is the rookie class. And the rookie class is currently being led by Matthew Gerard, the privateer, with 81 points at 5 points, ahead of Paul Joseph Cliffs at Apex Racing Academy. Lydia Rosa in third place, ahead of Rich Jameson Smith, who won the opening round. Morton Hansen in fifth. Jakub Samanski is sixth. The ever-improving Lewis McClevy missed the opening 2 rounds, so that's why he's a bit lower down. But when results start rolling in for him, he will certainly jump up the order. Andy Booth and Dan Fendick rounding out the 9 drivers in the rookie class.
Yeah, it definitely is. Them points, I think, don't have their drop rounds in. So I think they were from last week, to be honest. So we'll get them updated and bring them to you probably in the next broadcast. But it just adds to the spice. And one person that's probably looking strong for a good result here today is Lydia. She's heading out the rookie class. She done an 8:11 in the qualifying and was exceptionally quick. So I'm thinking Lydia has got a strong chance in that rookie class, which is very much depleted today. Only looks like 4 drivers are in that class itself, but Lydia certainly put a lot of practice in for this round and seems to be very quick. So expect her to be pushing on during this race. But at the top of the pro standards, you've got Elliot Hellier and Thomas Cope, literally separated by half a second in the qualifying. They were around about 6 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. So the main 2 protagonists in that pro standings are going to be going head or tail at it again here tonight, and it's great to have them 2 out on the field. We do have a new driver in the Pro-Am standings, Cody from America, making his debut here in the championship. Michael Cody currently driving the BMW, one of your favourites there, Dave.
Yeah, it's the BMW that I drive the most because I've got the car already in my back pocket and know it quite well. But it's certainly a car which is consistent, and that's going to be good around this circuit. And yeah, as we've already mentioned before, it's quite fun getting out there with the drivers to see how they get on in their cars and give it a little spin round ourselves. But yeah, maybe not quite quick enough to compete in a full race distance. But it's certainly going to be interesting to see how Michael gets on in his debut race. It's great to have some new drivers in the field, and let's see how he gets on. And Reckless Abandon have had a good season so far, so it'd be, you know, it's good to add to the numbers out there on the grid, and we've certainly got a huge field coming out here at the Nurburgring, as we could see him now just starting this tight and twisty part of the Nordschleife before he then puts his foot down for around about a mile, I think it is, along this. I was going to say straight, it's not very straight, but the one thing we did notice in practice, and we won't probably get round to this in the practice session, is how the cars are so stiffly set up due to the standard setup that we're using. And for myself and a few other drivers mentioned it, the car is bouncing over bumps that you don't know are there, because normally you've got the car so softly set up for this circuit, and because it's quite a standard setup and quite strongly stiffly sprung, it's easy for you to say, it's taken off in a couple of places that you don't really expect it to. So it's really going to catch a few drivers out if they just get their line slightly wrong and end up taking off and not realising that they're not actually connected to the tarmac.
Definitely is, and that is the end of the 30-minute practice session for the guys. They will now be gridding up, so shortly we'll be able to take you through the grid for this Nurburgring. So here we have the pro standing. So in first place and on pole position is Elliot Hellier. In second place, we've got his main rival Thomas Cope there in second. Jacob Behrens doing an excellent job in that Ford in third place. Aaron Powell in fourth. Scott Mokes in fifth. Nikolai Thrain in sixth, Matty Chambers in seventh, Oscar Christensen in eighth, Kim Andre Borkland in ninth, and Matt Loveridge in 10th.
As we go into a pro Anfield, James Logston takes pole position from Michael Hoopner. Alex Garat has jumped himself up into third place ahead of a new boy, Michael Cody. Great job on his debut. Russ Fowler in fifth place ahead of Hakan Juleson. Tom Bingham ahead of Casper Tunstead, and Frederick Goldberg ahead of Phil Regan. And then Bob Humphrey and Kev Copeland rounding out the 12 Pro Ams. And Daniel Merchant, 13th in the class.
And over to the AMs, we've got Steve Pearce, our leader in the AMs, heading into first place. David Gill in second, Sander Island in third, Chris Rance in fourth, Jimmy Vark in fifth, Gordon Hagen sixth, Matt Sayer in seventh, Darren Doherty in eighth, Daniel Lillyvek in ninth, Hendrik Haraldson in 10th place. In 11th, we've got Daniel Slater. Oddvid Bredvik is in 12th. John Tressida in 13th. Joe Sal in 14th. And Nigel Stock in 15th.
And we go to the four rookies. Lydia Rosa, Paul Cliss, Lewis McLevy and Matthew Gerard, the top four in the Rookie Championship all here tonight. And as you can see, the drivers are now pulling away. And what is happening here is each class are going to give each other a 6-second gap, so that we're not getting involved in each other's classes. But the rules are being changed slightly as they come onto the track, because green lights will come on while some people are still on the Nordschleife. So the drivers will go each class when the pole position holder, who controls the pace, will be at the pit lane entrance.
Definitely a super long field, so we're able to spread them out a little bit more to offset any potential issues from the class in front. Certainly going down into that first corner, it's a really tight turn, certainly with the racing head on, and the guys trying to jockey for position going into that first corner is always going to be treacherous. So if you don't know the setup of this one, they do the most of the GP track layout before then heading out onto the green hell, onto the Nordschleife itself, and then they'll come back again over to the start finish line. There will be a pit stop in this one as well, so they will only be able to go half distance, so we've not changed the setup at all. So there will be a pit stop probably around about lap 3, lap 4 if somebody can go on, but we're looking at the pros now just coming around the last corner before they start coming on to what you will be familiar with as the GP circuit as they come across the line. So Hellraising down to the start finish line here as we just watch them. Elliot getting a good advantage, keeping that first place. Thomas Cope staying with him. Jacob Behrens as well there. Oh, he's managed to get past Thomas Cope for that inside line. So Behrens in that Ford, exceptional job getting second place overall. So a great start for Jacob Behrens. Something that Thomas Cope probably wasn't really looking at or expecting into that first corner. We can see him there, Jacob on the webcam on the right hand side. All cool, calm and collect at the moment, but I wonder if it'll be the same state coming into around about the 3 laps, because if the guys have got their Newton meters up on these force feedback wheels, they're certainly going to have a hard time of it at the moment. But if we just join back, just have a look at the Pro-Ams. Where are they currently out on field here as we look there? Michael Hoopler's managed to keep that pole position. In fact, he's jumped James Logden for that pole position at the moment. Michael Hoopler has managed to get that first place in the Pro-Am stand. And James Logden there. Looking further back at the AMs, Steve Pearce managing to consolidate that pole position at the moment. Sander Island there in second place. David Gill in third place overall. So a little bit spreading out in the AMs at the start, at the front of this field, as we look further back at the rookies. And Lydia Rossa is starting to already pull away there. 1.2 seconds over Lewis McCavey, who hasn't really done a lot of practice around this track. So it's going to be interesting to see what these four can do. But it's going to be vital points Dave, for these 4 rookie drivers at the back, you've got the main protagonist at the front of the rookie field, so it's going to be some valuable points if somebody can get round without crashing out.
Yeah, the rookie class is actually in kind of a reverse order at the moment in terms of the pace we've seen this season. So Lydia was really confident when we were speaking to her yesterday about the circuit. She's mentioned that she enjoys driving out but on her own, and she's getting out there on her own at this moment without having to look at everybody else. But I have noticed in the Pro-Am category, no Patrick Thompson here tonight, so Michael Hooper will be looking on his home circuit to really grab that advantage around this Nordschleife circuit, as we now see Lydia now going out onto the circuit. But as you can see out in front, Elliot Elliott has gained a 1.5 second lead just out on the Grand Prix circuit, and Thomas Cope has now made his way alongside the Ford GT as they head down this fast flowing corner. You don't want to be on the outside here, and Jakob has to just give in, and Thomas Cope is through into second place and now is on the chase of Elliot Elliott, who we know gets on better in the second half of races. So will he get better in the second half of laps around this place?
Yeah, Elliot normally likes to be behind the car, as he said last week, but finding himself out front. Obviously, Thomas Cope getting held up a little bit by Jacob Behrens in third place. But looking back now at the Pro-Ams here, Michael Hoopla has managed to get in front only by 0.3 of a second, but these two have managed to scamper away from Alexander Scaret, who is in third place overall, 2.6 seconds behind. And we're looking at Jogson all over the back of Scaret's car at the moment in that Lamborghini. Very few cars being in Lamborghini. I wouldn't imagine Lambo would be a very good choice of car around the Nordschleife, being that it is quite not forgiving on the suspension. You know, we haven't really talked about the cars that probably do well around here. I would expect the Mercedes, the BMWs are always nice and soft on the suspension. But like you said, Dave, you know, these are fixed setup. This is the iRacing Sprint setup with an extra 10 litres of fuel in to be able to get a pit stop in the hour-long race, and to be able to do the 30-minute sprint race without any things. But I haven't really seen any incidents at the moment, which is remarkable, touch wood, on the Nordschleife in this opening lap. So all the drivers taking it really cautious to get them tyres nice and warmed, and it's really good to see. So that means there's going to be some epic battles between the classes. Yeah,
it's going to be really close throughout the race, as we've seen Joe Soul here, and we've got an instant replay. Here's Matty Chambers. That's his out on the Grand Prix circuit early on in the lap through the chicane, and he just goes through and has a Porsche right behind him. And is there contact here? Yes, there is, and Matty Chambers is spun round. Luckily, probably no damage there, and that's why we have the gap between the classes, because and Matty spins it around a bit too much. Does manage just, and there comes the, I think that's the Pro-Ams. No, it's a Pro driver which started a little bit back. It's who?
Yeah,
sorry?
Portland. I think that was Kim-Andre Portland just coming through, but yeah, given that 6-second gap at the start of the race has made all the difference, and that's what it was very much there for, is to allow for any spins to not get caught up straight away. But we'll join in back here with the Pro-Ams here. Russ Fowler under a lot of pressure from Casper Tungsten, just behind him in P16th overall, around about 5th in class at the moment. But you can sort of see how close they are. Scaret, Fowler, Tungsten, so really fighting over from 13th down to 16th at the moment. Bob Humphries just off the pace with our very own Tom Bingham there back. Oh, and that's not how you want to take it.
Elliot has fallen down to 3rd place. I'm not sure what's happened to Hellier, but Cope now leads from Behrens, so something has happened out around the Whipperman section. This is just after the carousel, actually, so this is heading up to Hockat. And does he just get onto the grass? No, but I presume too much curb, runs out wide. Well, almost saved there by Elliot Hellier. Brushes the barrier side on, and it's just whether there's any damage to that steering. Now, he seems to have got back to speed pretty quickly as they head to Whipperman, and I think he might be just about okay looking at that. Maybe we could try and get an on board with Elliott at some point so we can see whether his steering is broken. But Thomas Cope now leads from Jakob Behrens, and Elliott Hellier falls down to third, just ahead of Nikolai Frayne, who is all over the back of a Evo SR Porsche right now, and will be looking to try and make a move up towards Flansgarden. And there's contact, and Elliott Hellier's round. Hellier having the lap he did not want to have, manages to, he reversed it into a barrier there. Is he going to get it back going again? And Nikolai Frayne has now got Aaron Powell right up behind him as they head out towards the Dottin Ho, the longest straight on this circuit, and it's going to give that Porsche a lovely tow. But has Nikolai Frayne got any damage to the front of his car?
I would imagine so, probably looking at me. It doesn't take a lot to get damage around this track. Elliott Hellier at the moment still being able to drive around in P11 for P12, fighting with Alexander Skret. He is going to have a severely damaged car there. You can just sort of see at the moment he's just trying to get that car back to the pits probably, and take that fast repair that is available to all the drivers. But at the moment really struggling out on track, and that was a really unfortunate. But I suppose that is what is the Nordschleife. You could be flying high 1 minute and the next minute you're out of it, as we watch Frederick Goldberg here having a, not sure who that is in
that
front.
is one of the reckless abandoned cars behind. And he just goes almost rides the barrier. And I will tell you something, I have done that in a Mazda before. You just forget where you are on the circuit, and it's going to be a tow for Goldberg and disaster for him as he tries to challenge. But Elliott Hellier now has to decide, does he pit or does he try and go another lap? Because if he pits now, he will not probably make the end on the fuel. But if the car is damaged, then he's going to have to pit, and he does head for pit lane. So it's going to be a bit of fuel strategy here for Elliott to try and make himself to the end of the race. And not the ideal start for him, who is second in the pro category at the moment. We're looking at Nikolai Frayne. Doesn't seem to be a lot of damage to the front of that Mercedes. So I don't know whether we can possibly get a replay of what happened there and just see. But Oscar Christensen also in the pits, so he's got a bit of damage from somewhere. So it'd be really interesting to see what actually happened there. In 8th place overall at the moment is James Logston, who's managed to get ahead of Michael Hooper on the opening lap of the Nordschleife and leads by 2.9 seconds ahead of Hooper. Yorkson up into 3rd in class at the moment, and Alex Skret in 4th. They're having great runs compared to sometimes this season. And back in the AM category, Steve Pearce still leads the way from Sandra Island, Rance, Bark and Gill.
Yeah, one of the things, Lydia in the rookie, she is just scampering away from Lewis McKinley at the moment to the tune of around about nearly 6.5 seconds. So Lydia flying really high. I just hope that she can bring it home, because she's certainly got the speed in that rookie class. The rest of the field just haven't got a chance of trying to catch her at the moment. So Lydia having an excellent opening lap there. Car looks pretty much brand new as well. She's just onto the back of Haraldson at the moment. So the teammates there, or the same country there, hopefully will let Lydia pass to go through. But she's certainly flying high in that rookie class. Looking a little bit further behind in the rookie class, you got Paul Joseph Clist having a little bit of a battle with Matthew Gerard there in 31st place. So a little bit of a battle in the rookie class. So after one lap, it's all very much close. We had a couple of casualties. So we got Daniel Slater, Matty Chambers, Frederick Goldberg, Phil Regan is in the pits as well, and Oddvid Bredvik in Team Fast Boys is in the pits. So we have got some casualties on that first lap, but the majority of the field, Dave, still going and still going strong.
Yeah, certainly, as Goldberg is now in the pits right now. Here's the instant replay, and this is Oscar Christensen. So we'll see what happens to him. Similar area, actually, to... he's crabbing round, so that's why he headed to a pit lane, and doing quite well there to be... To hold on to it at that speed around the north as I speak, and he's going to go straight across the grass. Oh, no, doesn't hit the barrier on the outside, but yeah, maybe slow that down a little bit to get back to the pits, Oscar. But I did notice Elliott Hellier, I don't think stopped for fuel. I think he dived into the pits and did the fast repair and got back out as soon as he can, because I think we'll find him a bit further up the field. I'm not sure if Lewis can find him right now. I think he might be around the bottom of the top 20.
Yeah, he's in 22nd position at the moment, so he's got to try and get past quite a few of the AM drivers, but is considerably faster than a lot of the guys. But let's just have a look and see what happened to Matt Loveridge after his excellent win out in the first race in Donington. What happens here? So let's have a look to see what Matt does. Does he clip a curb or just try and take a little bit? Oh, there we go. Too much curb, and unfortunately lost it.
Took too much curb there, and so easy to do. That is down. You'll have to forgive us for trying to remember where these accidents are happening, but that down at I think down at Ardenforst, I think that is, and or Meggettsfield. Not really. It's a corner which in practice actually people watching me, and I took a lot of curb because the BMW can take that a little bit more. The Porsche can't, as Nikolai Freyne out wide into the barrier at the lowest point of the circuit there, out at Bergwerk. That's his, like, the lowest part of the circuit. And I was talking to drivers here. You get the run out of that corner, and all of this bit is all uphill. It's a real strain on the engines, and some people don't actually get into the sixth gear here, even though you'd think you would, because of the uphill drag this is all the way through here. But Nikolai looks like he hasn't got too much damage from that and able to keep going. He's in 5th place, 11 seconds ahead of Kim-Andre Borkland. So the battle for 3rd place is still on. Cope leads at the moment from Behrens, 6 seconds. Then Scott Mokes is 2 seconds further back from Aaron Powell, Nikolai Freyne and Borkland. And that is all the pro drivers that are left in the top 10 now, because the next one is Elliot Hellier on his comeback drive, 21st at the moment, stuck in the middle of the AM category. He's got a bit of space here, though. This is a good thing about the Nurg. It will space out a bit, and as long as he catches the cars at the right point, he shouldn't lose too much time, and the repair is the best thing he could have done. But not taking fuel, I think that's probably the best suggestion.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably wouldn't, even like you said, if he took the fuel, he probably wouldn't have enough to get to the end, and he's that far down, he really doesn't want to be fuel saving. But, you know, a big shout out to Jacob Behrens. He's not had the best of rounds in this championship in that Ford. Been certainly had the pace, but is there in 2nd place at the moment. Has a little bit of breathing space, so let's see if that Ford can come around and take that P2. But we're on board with Darren Doherty down in 25th, and he's trying to chase down Daniel Lilivec just in front of him here as we go into the carousel here for the first time. Really want to stay down low and then get that slingshot out. So that was a perfect example of how to take the carousel, but not really closing up with Daniel Lilivec at the moment. So these two very much evenly matched on track at the moment, and the person behind that battle was Lydia Rossa, who seems to be making a lot of ground up through the amateur field. So has 2 cars between herself and Matthew Gerard, who is currently taking over 2nd place in that rookie class. But Lydia is having a super strong race here today.
Yeah, it's super strong, as we now look at Kev Copeland being overtook there by Cody on his debut, and Steve Pearce, the teammate for Reckless Abandon, is coming up behind him as well. I know it's going back a bit, but we were looking at sorry, I forgot Darren Doherty earlier, and I popped in the chat. If anybody didn't know the Nurburgring, I could give them a few suggestions and about where it goes rather than how to drive quickly around it. And Darren's suggestion was, can I drive my car for him? That's how much he was looking forward to trying to learn the Nordschleife. So it's interesting to see, as we've now got a big battle between Aaron Powell and Nikolai Freyne for 4th place. Less than half a tenth of a second between the two of them. So they must be side by side down with Dottenhoe. And here is Elliot Hellier. Don't tell me he's had another incident here as we look at him coming through this section. It's where he crashed before, and it's been rear-ended again at that circuit. That's exactly where him and Nikolai Freyne come together, and Elliot will be pulling out, and that amateur car behind is crabbing. I'm not sure who that was, but Jimmy Vark, I'm being told, was the driver crabbing, and that is pretty much probably the end of the race for Elliott. He's not going to be in a happy state after this one, and it looks like we might have a couple of things to look at on Tuesday.
I would imagine so, but obviously he already used his fast repair, so we'll not have another fast repair, so that's pretty much the end of Elliott's race. Goes into the advantage of Thomas Cope, currently leading this 4.95 seconds over Jacob Behrens in that Ford at the moment, but Thomas really could capitalize here. They do have 2 drop rounds, so Elliott can drop this round. I'm not sure what his other 2 drop rounds are, but we're currently joining the battle here for P11th. So we got Russ Fowler at the head of this train. We got Casper Tungsten in 12th, and currently watching Tom Bingham just on the back of that trio there. Bob Humphrey is 1.3 seconds behind these 3 at the moment, so if these 3 start battling, it could bring Bob back into the fray. But Cody, as you were mentioning, he's got to have had an incident, currently down in 15th, around about 8th in class. Did start 4th on the grid, or 3rd or 4th on the grid, so it's certainly not at the opening lap that he wanted to. Can we see any damage on his car?
No, it looks like he might be all right, but whether he's been in for his fast repair or anything like that, or maybe just taking it easy, it's his not the best of circuits to come and make your debut on, but the gaps are super close between a few of the drivers. For example, in Pro-Am, we've got 7/10 of a second between first and second, half a second between third and fourth. Then Russ Fowler leading a queue of Casper Tunstad and Tom Bingham at the moment, with Bob Humphrey not far behind either, and Cody only 5 seconds back. So the Pro-Am field's so close in terms of their battles, and Steve Pearce is only a second behind Cody and just being nicely pulled along at this moment in time. And as we look back at rookie class, there is Lydia Rosa, currently about 10 seconds clear of Matthew Gerard and Paul Cliss. So we have lost Lewis McCleverly somewhere. He was just ahead of them 2 actually, so he's had an incident somewhere, and you can see at the bottom of that timing tower Oscar Christensen trying to make his comeback. I don't know if you can let us know. Wide actually goes Daniel Liljevic, and up another position goes Lydia Rosa. Talking too quick for my brain there, and she is so far keeping it on the circuit, but I have a terrible commentator's curse, so I'm gonna be kind and careful. But you can see the map on the right hand side, only 1 car out on the other side of the Nordschleife at the moment. That is the car in 34th place, one of the Pro-Ams. That is Phil Regan, who we spoke to earlier, and he was looking forward to this race, but he is damaged at the moment. And as you can see at the bottom of the timer screen, Elliot Hellier out, Lewis McClellan in the pits, Matt Loveridge out, Daniel Slater in the pits, and Matty Chambers out. And with Chambers and Hellier out, this is a big day for Thomas Cope to try and get a maximum score in the championship, as this is Lewis trying to recover back to the pits and doing it. One thing I've noticed so far, anybody crabbing is trying to drive back possibly a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, it quite is, but obviously to take that toe back is an extremely long time on the Nordschleife, so you really don't want to be doing that. And Lewis did say that he hasn't really done a lot of practice for this track, so it's not ideal preparation.
Yeah, this is what caused the crash as he heads down towards, it looks like down towards the bottom part of the circuit. It's a corner, yeah, it's the lowest part of the circuit. It draws you in, and he's just lost the front end, and very little contact, but that's how much damage can be caused from it. Does he try and rejoin? Yeah. And is there any more cars coming around? No, it doesn't look like it, but that is all it needed for a bit of damage, and it looks like he may have got some damage and then had another incident somewhere, because he's not quite crabbing there.
Yeah, it does. But that was a perfect picture there, with that sunset just coming over the hill there, with the car just went out on the rack. Regan just getting it slightly wrong on the GP. So he certainly must have some damage. I mean, you can see the damage on the front left of that BMW and on the rear end as well. So certainly had a rear end shunt with the wall or something. But Lewis back out on track in 34th position.
And back off track down at the Dunlop curb. And there's one thing I said to the drivers. I said, you know, take it easy when you get to a Nordschleife. I didn't mean start throwing it off the track on the GP loop. As we now look at Russ Fowler, who is fighting off Casper Tunstad as they head up. They're heading up towards the carousel area of the circuit. This is tight, too wide. Is Russell going to just, Russell using his bit of common sense and just easing off, but that's going to give Tom Bingham a run at Russell now, and Tom Bingham all over the back of him. Will that, no team orders there at this moment in time, and right behind is Bob Humphrey for Evo SR Black. Evo SR not having a good day with Elliot Elliott and Matty Chambers both out of the race at this moment in time, or at least in the pit lane. So Bob Humphrey wanting to score as many points as he can for the team. James Logston's up there at the moment in the Pro-Am category fighting Michael Hooper. So they'll want those two drivers just to be a little bit more careful as they're coming through.
It certainly is, and we've just seen some big names obviously come out of the championship. Elliot Elliott, Matt Loveridge, Matty Chambers, you know, some big pro names out there, but the rest of the field is out, and this is really a hot battle heating up on track. Bob Humphrey managing to close down that 1.5 seconds to get onto the back of this train of 4 cars, but at the moment, as Casper's managed to get past Russ Fowler, he's managed to get a 1.2 second gap now between himself. So Russ seems to be almost like holding up the field at the moment, and Tom is the next person that's going to make that challenge to teammates there, and Bob's just going all out level, going over.
You really need to stop saying that somebody's going well, because each time we say it, somebody is driving off the track. This is Aaron Powell going wide. I was just about to say Powell and Frame were pushing towards Scott Mokes, and Powell just that is the mini carousel there in an instant. If you drift out of that concrete moment, it doesn't pull you around the circuit, and it just spits you out the other side like you've eaten a bad banana or something. You just do not want to be involved with that. And here is Team Bear Pope, Michael Hooper leading the way ahead of James Logston. This is good day for Team Bear Pope, actually, with the 2 cars right up there, trying to get a little bit of slipstream off. Is that Kim Borkland? Yes, the pro driver just ahead, who's doing a good job sitting in 6th place. He's sat about 10 seconds off the lead, off the pro pack, and I think he may have started from pit lane, to be honest, or just chose to back off and just run his own race. Don't worry about everyone else. Try and stay away from everybody. Here is Chris Rance trying to get past Kev Copeland as they head onto the Dottenhurst straight, and Chris will want to make this move to try and get a bit closer to Sander Island, who is second in class at this moment. So Rance gets every ounce of slipstream, pulls out without damaging the front of his car. Fernando Alonso, you can learn something from that. And there he is, still side by side, and through he goes. And Kev Copeland being sensible, getting back in the tow, and I don't expect to see a challenge back here by Kev. He's realised that Chris has gone through, and he'll see what pace Chris has on the GP loop and maybe give it another go. I'm really glad that I haven't got the timing screen on, because I would be looking at people going, oh look, sector 1, they've set a personal best, forgetting that there's so many sectors in this lap.
It certainly is. Chris Rance there, just managing to get past Kev Copeland. Does have now Sander Island in his sights further up, but we're joining back with this hotly contested battle in that Pro-Am field, further down than what we were just watching in 12th place, with Tom Bingham all over the back of his team. As we see there, Bob Humphrey going extremely wide there. That was,
exit stage right for Bob Humphrey there.
It is.
Yeah, that was an unusual one as well. He's got to have either had a lot of rear brake bias, or he's caught the grass. I'm expecting he's caught the grass. Yes, he has, just on entrance. It's a little grass creek there, and he's gone off towards where Ralph Schumacher and David Coulthard went off in the 1999 Nurburgring Grand Prix when they were winning it. So Bob in some illustrious company going off of that corner. But yeah, Tom Bingham is certainly trying to get on the radio now to Russ Fowler, saying, Russ, Tom is quicker than you. And Russ is probably firing back, no, I'm just stuck behind Casper Dunstead and I want to get through first. So a bit of team orders maybe from these two guys, we will see as we have a replay. This is John Trezester, who's had a quiet race for now. Is this going to be another instant round, this part of the circuit for Evo SR? It looks like it's okay so far. Just runs a little, just loses the back end. Contact with the front. Does he get going again? Yes, he does, but Evo SR really not having a good day so far.
No, certainly not a good day at the office, but a lot of them, you can never say when it's over unless you see the front of that John's car absolutely stoved in there, so we'll have a lot of aero damage certainly coming down the dot and the hole.
So to jump in, I saw Nikolai Frame falling down the order, and I think actually Lewis saw it as well, because this is Nikolai Frame through the opening few sections of the Nordschleife. Gets on the curve, tank slapper, and he noses it into the wall. That's got to be at least a little bit of damage. He gets it spun back around, but he has dropped behind a couple of Pro-Ams. Will he get going beforehand? And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up having a message about that, but I'm not 100% sure there's a lot Nikolai could have done about that on first glimpse.
Luckily in a part of the field that you can easily see him from a distance.
Yes.
So you saw Kim-Andre Borkman there, and the two, Michael Hoopler and James Logden, just slowing down just to let Nikolai get back onto the track. So unfortunately, and like I was saying, then we see another replay here. Phil Regan, that car already damaged here. What happens to him? Does he clip another curb or take the grass? Let's have a look here. Coming down there, I think that's into the forest part of the track here, coming down.
Ooh. Yeah, just runs a bit wide there, and
yeah, there's a bit of a mistake. The corner before puts him offline into the next corner, and then unfortunately sees the front end into that, and I think that's him had enough. He has towed back to the pit, so a long wait there for Phil Regan to get.
And here we have another replay for Lewis McClevany, and he's been in the wars here today. This is the same part of the circuit. Everybody seems to be getting this wrong near the end of a lap. Lost speed to carry through that corner, that's fine, but then he runs wide and into the wall, into the gravel, and off into and everybody's losing it around the same kind of sector of the lap, near the end of the lap as well. You've already done most of the Nordschleife and you're losing it there. And I was just about to say, yeah, it's amazing how much you can just get through a lap and go, I'm feeling all right. I said it to many people in practice session. It's like when you're doing an official race and you go in, I'm on Nortex. The next corner you will run wide, and this replay button is getting absolutely worked. It's earning its money here tonight, as Kim-Andre Borkman now just ahead of the two Team Bear Pope cars. Will he run wide? Yes, he does. And the other two, just avoid him. Well done, everybody, for managing to avoid Kim-Andre, who's, I think, for Kim, he was just pushing a little bit too hard because he suddenly had drivers around him. He's been trying to run his own race for now. And amazingly enough, we're almost halfway through this race already.
We'll start seeing the cars coming in for their pit stop. I wouldn't imagine anybody would be able to do another lap, so we should see everybody coming into the pits to get some fuel. As we see Tom just trying to have a look on Russ Fowler into a very quick part of the section. Getting it extremely close, Tom. Just backing out slightly there. You don't really want to be going side by side. And just behind them, we have the other teammates, Cody and Pierce from Reckless Abandon there in 14th and 15th. Pierce doing an exceptional job heading out that amateur field. 3.4 seconds ahead of Sander Island. So still needs to be putting the hammer down slightly. You can just see Sander there in the background in that shot. So his teammate could do him a favour and let him pass. But as we see here, Tom and Russ having a bit of a battle coming through the carousel, which sort of bunches them all up now. So we see two performance links in front and the two reckless abandonment team behind, but Russ is really struggling out at the moment. And they, we're talking about the Nordschleife. We talk about a normal lap, and it's not that very much taxing on the brain. But the Nordschleife, you've got to be concentrating 100%, because as we've seen so many times tonight, one little lapse in concentration, one little curb that you hit a little bit too hard, and you basically spin off and hit a corner, and it's race ended. And what you don't want to be doing 31 minutes into the race is making a little tiny mistake that basically is race ending.
Yes, exactly. And I think he won't mind saying this. I have seen him a driver chat, Elliot Hellier, saying, don't go to the gym before you start a race at the Nordschleife. I think he's a bit worn down from his gym session, and the concentration might not be quite there, and the muscle probably not recovered from the initial thing. There, we just seen the first aspect of, as Russ Fowler went over that jump there, where the cars normally jump over whatever the setup, but then you have this corner here and a few others where the car's bouncing around because the setup isn't perfected for the Nordschleife. And Tom Bingham now starting to pull away from Russ Fowler there, and this is Jakob Behrens. Please don't damage that Ford GT. We've only got the one in the field, and he's running really well in second place. And he's running round onto the Dottenhoe. Touches the grass on the inside, power slides it. Is he going to keep? No. And
I mean, if you're going to have an accident, you want it on this lap, the lap that you're going to come in for your pit stop anyway. Yeah. So it's probably fortunate that he has had that incident on this lap, because he will be coming in. We'll lose a lot of speed coming down the Dottenhoe, but, you know, still in touch, in fourth place at the moment, and unfortunately from second. So what that has done is it's promoted Scott Mokes and Aaron Powell into second and third place respective, but Thomas Cope is still your leader. And as you can see in the timing tower, all starting to come in the pit lane. So that's the top 5, top 6. So there'll be a mass entry in and a max exit out of the pit lane.
Yeah, there won't be many drivers which will be able to go another lap unless they really have fuel saved. And actually, to be honest, most of the drivers are just concentrating, trying to get round, to be honest. But Casper Tunstad heading into the pits now as Thomas Cope leaves it. That's first to 11th. So that shows you how far Thomas Cope has stretched his lead at this moment in time. Jakob Behrens still in second place as he headed into the pits. So be interesting. I think that's because of the timing tower and grid positions and grid spots as Scott Mokes heads out for Performance Link. So a great start of a race, but everybody pretty much pitting on this lap. In comes David Gill, Kev Copeland. Matt will be the next one round if he catches up. And yeah, looking just behind Mads, Lydia Racer with a 20-second lead currently in the class. Now, normally we'd say that's huge, but this is the Nordschleife. Top 8 have all pitted in, and Michael Hooper now currently still leads Pro-Am, but by 3 seconds ahead of James Logston. And Hakan Julson has done a great job here with a pit stop in the Lamborghini. Now, we don't see the Lamborghini doing as well this sort of period of time with iRacing. It's not the go-to car. I did see actually Team Redline running it in the Suzuka 10 hours, so that was quite interesting. And now we look back at Sander Island, who's got ahead of Steve Pearce in the pits, so a big swap there for the lead in the AM category.
Yeah, that certainly is. And I was just looking at the timing. So 25.67 for Sander Island in the pits and 26.88. So only a second difference, which was more than that on track. And it must have been the entry speed into the pit lane that Steve Pearce basically just slowed down a lot quicker. And Sander Island now finds himself leading out. Does have Pearce just behind him, Steve Pearce just behind him, tracking him down only 0.2 of a second, but a great pit stop there from Sander Island to leapfrog the AM win, or the AM leader at the time of Steve Pearce, and has got out in front. And that's half the battle around this Nordschleife circuit, is being that front car. It's extremely hard to pass.
Yeah, and we're now looking at Alex Scrett down in through the Schumacher S on the Grand Prix circuit, and we'll just see if he touches the grass. No, just too much speed into the corner, and around he goes. Again, in very good company, Damon Hill doing that back in 1995, which blew his championship challenge, but Alex Scrett able to rejoin. And this is Frederick Goldberg heading out of the pit, and it's still crabbing, so I don't think we'll see that Ferrari going too much further. It'll be pressed if he can get a lap out of that. And it looks like he will probably just tow back to the pits. Looking at this as he pulls it to the side. Well done, Frederick, for getting that car out the way before towing. But what's interesting is seeing a few of these drivers. Russ Fowler falling down to 15th behind Sander Island, Cody and Pearce. Now, this is partly down to strategy. maybe you've come slower into the pits. But also Jakob Behrens down to 16th now, and I'm thinking that maybe because he's took tyres as well, because he's probably cut the tyres when he did that spin. And it is an option. Drivers don't need to take tyres at this time, but you know, you just never know. As we now watch Paul Joseph Klisk, who is 24 seconds behind Lydia Rosa, who is dominating this rookie class here tonight. Again, a small rookie field, but a really good rookie field. We've seen Paul Klisk, Matthew Gerard, and Lydia Rosa. Who is that rejoin? Is that I think that's as that broke the steering on Lydia Rosa's car. That looked like Darren Doherty here at turn 13 going onto the Nord, obviously loses control. It is actually called turn 13 as well, so just my German isn't good enough to know 13 in German. He spins round the Evo SL car, so he reverses back, thinks he's got the gap to get going again, and Lydia just comes round. Now, yes, not the best of rejoins, but also I kind of think the yellow flag would have been out by then, and you'd want to take it easy with that bigger lead, and maybe that's a little bit of experience by Lydia not to sort of be a bit more wary of that, especially with such a big lead she had. And this is her currently heading down, and the car doesn't look too bad. I don't know if we can go on board to see. There might be a bit of steering damage there. We can't quite see the wheel in that picture, so
I think it is. I think you can see the angle if you look at the bottom left of the corner. There is some steering damage. You can sort of see the time as well. Currently at 20. A little bit of a twitch there. So Lydia has got some steering damage.
Now,
absolute disaster there, considering she was so dominant in this rookie field. You can see Paul Joseph Klisk every single turn, just closing that gap down, only 5 seconds. This is probably the worst bit that Lydia wanted to be in, you know. And like you said, it was probably a little bit of inexperience there coming around if she had the yellow flag coming around that corner, but it was pretty much a blind corner with a car right in the middle, so not a lot.
It is a problem with a lot of the Nordschleife. It's hard to see around the corner. And here's Phil Regan, who I actually thought it might have been because of a similar livery, and we've seen him in a few issues here. And is he going to just rub salt into wounds and spin at the same corner? No, he's pulling off the track into the Grand Prix pits, and I guess we're going to see him retire to a pit lane, or has he got damage so he's just trying to dive to a pit lane and take a penalty? It is something you can do. You can return to a pit lane there, but obviously he's taking quite a big penalty there. And we now got Chris Rance. We're seeing more replays and live action the way this is going, but Chris Rance in the AM category leading the way. He was ahead of Steve Pearce, and he's going to go round and hit the wall. And it is what car hasn't hit the wall here tonight? Looks like he might get not quite crabbing, maybe a bit of damage, but Steve Pearce now having to start his recovery drive from his spin, bit of a bent rear wing, and it'll be interesting to see how they get on. But Lydia Rosa now trying to get that car back to pits rather than take the tow. I don't know which one I'd rather have done, because the tow is very long, but you're so close to the edge, to the start of a Nordschleife, it might have been worth it.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's actually terrible news there for Lydia. It was so commanding in that rookie class, over 20 seconds ahead. You can now see her 10 seconds behind Paul Klisk. But that is the Nordschleife in an essence. Is that 1 minute you're flying high, the next minute you're down in the doldrums. You know, it's such a long track, so undulating. The corners are non-forgiving, and basically you've really got to keep your concentration. Or there, as we're watching Thomas Cope coming down the Dotton Hill, 21 seconds ahead of Scotty Mokes, and it's good to see Scotty in second place at the moment, 3.9 seconds ahead of Aaron Powell in third. So just needs, I'm going to touch some wood here because obviously he was leading out in the second race in Donington Park, and unfortunately came a slight cropper, but certainly having a better race here today, and certainly no damage on that portion. And that's the thing, Dave, isn't it? Going around this North side, if you can be the fastest guy, but you've got to get it to the end of the race. You know, there's so many areas of this track that are absolutely treacherous. One little mistake, and as we've seen throughout the field with all the replays we've been getting, is that it can be race ending, and it doesn't take a lot in these cars. Like a little scrape along the barrier can really mess your steering up, and pretty much that puts you out of the race.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that you don't want. You want to try and avoid. Here's Jakob Behrens on his recovery drive. He's already back up into 13th place overall, and now, as you can see, taking a bit his hands off the wheel and a nice little rest around the Dottenhoe. Get your sandwich out, get a drink out, and chill for a bit, because it's the only part of the circuit you can really take a rest. He's taking the slipstream off the AM leader Sander Island, who right now, if I was Sander Island, I would be diving out of Jakob's way as soon as it was safe to do so, because there's just no point, and he did so. He's pulling to the side and just letting Jakob get on with it, because he now has a nice lead of about 18-19 seconds over David Gill in the class, because Steve Pearce has dropped back hugely, probably about to the tune of about 20-30 seconds. So Steve Pearce obviously getting involved in something around the lap. So whoever we sort of say is going well is having issues. So maybe we need to maybe we should just have silence for the last 20 minutes and just not jinx anybody.
I know, but I mean, this is never ending as we watch Bob Humphries here. See what happens coming towards the end of the lap. Just get it slightly wrong. Does he save it?
It's the same part. It's the same
part.
part of a track again. I actually can't believe, because this is actually one of the wider, less twisty parts of the circuit, and Bob trying to make sure he's out of the way before he tries to rejoin, and he's got the perfect view to see down the track. So and then noses it into a wall. Maybe take it a little bit easier. I think he probably expected it to spin itself around there with full throttle, but now damage to the front end for Bob. And something I was going to say about Lydia while she was recovering to the pits is, I wonder if when people have pitted, if they have no damage, they've remembered to turn off the fast repair. So if you turn it off, if you don't turn it off and you use it in that pit stop, whatever, if there's any little damage, if you don't, as I've just seen, Steve Pearce has headed to pit lane. So I wonder if he was wise enough to turn it off in the pit stop and then bring it back in when he did have some damage, to just use that fast repair very quickly, as we now watch Alex Scarrett in the Porsche coming down to turn one into the Mercedes-Benz corner, and just the slowest of spins there for Alex, and he just gets back going again. But just a little bit loss of time, but better than damage. And now we have David Gill going down into turn one in the Ferrari for reckless abandon, down towards the Mercedes corner. That is looking like Steve Pearce in front of him. And we just see too much speed on the apex, and around it goes. Harmless spin, but gets going, cleanly. So just a bit of a loss of time there for David Gill, who was up behind Cody. He was up behind. So what has anybody not had any kind of incident yet, apart from Cope, Mokes, and Aaron Powell? I've got to admit, doing a great job. He's got involved in a couple of incidents this season, but doing a great job in third place at the moment. Only less than 5 seconds back from Scott Mokes, which is easily gainable in a lap if something happens. And he will certainly be pushing on, as is Kim Andre Borkland, who's in 8th place overall, only a couple of seconds off Nikolai Frayne at the moment. So some nice little pro battles forming, as we're now watching Tom Bingham come under attack from the barrier-eating shark of the Ford GT40, and he's now on the recovery drive of a very, very good recovery drive, actually, back up into 12th. Tom will be P11, and Tom will be sensible enough not probably to fight this when it's clear for Jakob to come through. But Jakob down 9 positions. A bit of smoke there from Casper Tunstad in front, locking his brakes, but I bet you Tom will be letting Jakob through as soon as it makes sense to around this Nordschleife circuit, because he may just drag him up to Alex Scarrett and Casper Tunstad in front.
Yeah, one of the big things is, and I think the reason why, and one thing we haven't looked about is normally in these hour-long races, the drivers don't change their tyres, but I think it was maybe a bad call, because we're seeing a lot of incidents now. We saw 2 cars there turning around the first corner as we look at the front end of Alexander Scaret's car, pretty much missing that bonnet there. But the tyres will be taking an absolute hammering here, and the guys have already said in previous rounds on a normal circuit towards the end of the race, as we watch Alexander Scaret just lose it there, luckily keeps out the way of the rest of the drivers. But you know, the only person that's actually looked like they've changed tyres is Jacob Behrens, and we can just see the speed that he has and how quickly he can close down the other drivers. And I think this may go into his benefit here of having to change them tyres. I think a lot of the other drivers will be struggling, certainly if not this lap, on the next lap coming into the last lap of the race, you know, to be able to get around this circuit. And what you really don't want to be doing is crashing out on the last lap after all the effort you've tried to put in during this race. But it's only time will tell, as we see another, it's Chris Rance again, and I believe that is coming into
It's coming to the end of the Grand Prix.
There it is, the end of the Grand Prix, going on to the oh, is it a carbon copy of Darren Doherty? Yes, just loses
too much speed.
Poor, hits that wall pretty hard. Luckily, he went straight onto it, so hopefully he hasn't done too much damage. But no,
that's crabbing.
It's another victim of towing back to the track. But like I said, Dave, you know, these tyres have just gone off.
Yeah, and it's ironic because everyone will go to Spa next weekend to do 2 hours, and actually they may not change tyres in 2 hours. If you ever do the 24 hours or anything, you'll be looking to do 2 stints on tyres, and that is a 2-hour situation. So obviously these drivers only start with 60 litres of fuel, so they will have to do probably 2 stops at Spa. But actually you may not even think of changing tyres. But round here, in an hour-long race, it actually kind of makes sense as well. And these drivers have only got 12 minutes of this race left to go. It has flown by, and Lewis has had to keep his finger on the pulse on that replay button. Really, I think he's probably just left it on, just automatically on it, because this is the first live action we've been able to watch for a little bit. And out in front, just to give you a recap of what's going on, Thomas Cope leads away from Scott Mokes and Aaron Powell. And just to show you how comfortable Thomas is at this moment in time, he did actually manage to join one of the Discord chats while he was driving around the circuit, because I just saw him pop up in the Discord chat for the drivers. Michael Hooper is leading the way from James Logston, and Hakan Jolson still looking at that Pro-Am podium. That'd be a great result, as he's actually just gone past Logston out on the circuit. Now, has Logston... Logston's gone off.
It was. I just saw a massive big plume of smoke behind. Let's have a look, see what happened to James Logston here. Does he touch the grass?
She's caught her again.
It is, look, he's just lost it. Just absolutely lost it, and then basically, got a little bit of a tap on the way through, and that's where he lost it. But like I was saying, maybe these tyres are completely shot. Certainly the guys that are having these little spins just takes that little bit more wear off the tyres, and maybe struggling a lot more. But Hakan Jolson at the moment is in second place in that Pro-Am division. Michael Hooper in fourth place, who is currently leading the Pro-Ams at the moment. But I'm never going to say never where positions are, as we watch Alexander Scaret again. It's already been in the walls. You can see from the front end of that Porsche. Oh, literally taking a lot of air, a lot of curb there, and unfortunately just lost it. And that is going to be a race-ending crash there for Alexander.
Oh, no! That's Russ Fowler. That's Russ Fowler having to try and avoid Alex, who was just getting going again. I think he did a really good job of actually avoiding, as Hakan Jolson back in the pits. Now, I'm presuming what's happened is he's got a bit too much damage. He saved his fast repair, and he's going to use it here then. But actually, James Logston has carried on, ironically. So James Logston continuing with whatever damage he got. Looks like Russ Fowler's got away scot-free with that. But yeah, Hakan Jolson already heading back out of pits, but that has cost him a little bit of time in that Lamborghini, and it must have been enough damage to warrant coming into pits, because these drivers have about 2 laps to go, and Hakan's just come out alongside Tom Bingham, who's just managed to make his way through after Tom's dropped back from Jakob Behrens, and now the pressure will be back on, and Hakan was doing a great job, and he's having a look at the inside of Tom Bingham here on the Grand Prix circuit. If you want to make an overtake move, this is a great place to do it on this 24-hour Nurburgring. He's gone around the outside, heading down towards Dunlop curve. A great move by the Lamborghini. Can he hold Tom Bingham off on the inside of the corner? Yes, he can. And the Lamborghini back up into, I think it's 4th in class at the moment. Kim-Andre Borkland is off the track somewhere as well, as he's falling back. This possibly is a replay. Yes, it is. It's through the Schumacher S, just runs a bit over a curve. That's okay. And it's this next corner again. These replays are coming from the same corners every time. Too much speed in, and around he goes. And that is the Team Bear Poke car leading Pro-Am, just missing him. And we did a similar rejoin to what we saw earlier from one of the drivers. And now we have Lewis McCleveny. He's had enough incidents here today, but it looks like he's going to be having another one. Yeah, just, I think the steering must have been broke on that one. That did not look very good. And he's crabbing. I guess he will pit. Yes, sensible, pulls it to the side and will jump to the pits, because you don't want to be crabbing all the way back from there. But leading away, we have Thomas Cope, Michael Hooper, Sander Ireland, and in the rookie class, I think we should have Paul Joseph Cliss leading the way. Yes, we do, from Matthew Gerard. Lydia Rosen now on her recovery charge to try and close in on Matthew Gerard for 2nd place in class.
It definitely is. If we can just jump on board with Lydia, I think she is starting to close down on Matthew Gerard at the moment. I think her last lap was... It was an 8:36, but obviously she went in the pits. Matthew Gerard's
is in the pits.
9 minutes 30. So certainly an issue there from Matthew Gerard. So still Lydia got an opportunity here to get that 2nd place overall over Matthew Gerard. So look, a little bit of a damage on the front right there from Lydia. Obviously 20 seconds in the lead in the rookie class, coming around at turn number 13, and an unfortunate hit with another car that's really put pay to her race. But as we go back to another replay here from Mads Sayer, coming down to the Dunlop S here on the Grand Prix. I suppose if you're gonna have a spin around here, is we just probably watch a back end wash out. Yeah, literally. Oh, I thought he went back to the pits.
He disappeared with the connection, and it was Steve Pearce who followed him in sideways. Pearce not having the best of days after dominating the last few AM category races. This is obviously one of those circuits where anything can happen, and it looks like Håkon Juleson's had another incident. This is early on in the lap, and he comes up over ridge here. Bit too much curb. No, that wasn't too bad. Carries the speed through, just a slow spin there. Yeah, a bit too much speed. Slow spin, holds it on the brakes. There goes Tom Bingham. There goes Kim-Andre Borkland, I think that was, going through. And sadly for Håkon, after a great start to this race, it's all falling apart in the last 10 minutes of this race. But there is Lydia Rosa going round. We're now flipped to Nikolai Frayne, who has got past James Logston. And now Michael Hooper with a 20-second lead over James Logston in the Pro-Am category. And Logston doing a good job, considering he had that little touch with Håkon Juleson, but Juleson felt the need to pit and Logston didn't.
Yeah, obviously it was just that little clip on the back end that really caused damage for Jockelson, and obviously suffering still down there in 13th, where obviously James was okay because it literally just scuffed the front end of his bumper for him to be able to go on. Still in 2nd place, so still managing to get the points is James, but he doesn't really need to be pushing Nikolai Frayne that hard, because you can look behind him. His nearest competitor, Casper Togsten, is around about 20 seconds behind James Logden at the moment. We're getting towards very much the business end, and I believe this is the final lap of the race, so really just needs to consolidate that 2nd place at the moment, which will push him up the standings there. But there's I'm just looking down the timing tower from 29th down in this grid of 42. We've literally had a lot of retirees, and people probably will be the drop round as we just watch James Logston managing to get past Nikolai Frayne after a mistake there by Nikolai.
Yeah, it's so easy to pop out the top of the carousel corner there. Nikolai will need to try and make his way back through again. But going on to a point of it being the final lap, it will be the final lap next time round. These drivers are, because it's 8 minutes something a lap, depending on how quick you're going, and an hour-long race, it will mean that Thomas Cope is going to cross the line this time to get the white flag with 4 minutes, probably about 3 minutes of a race to go, but he will still have an 8-minute lap to do. So this shows you just how long this race will, it's an hour-long race, but actually for a lot of the drivers, it could work out at an hour and 8 minutes, for example, and it's going to be, or even longer, depending whether they get lapped and things. So it's going to be really, you're going to have to concentrate for that a little bit longer. And I think a lot of drivers are glad we didn't make this a 2-hour race that a few drivers are actually asking for, because it's been a bit of attritional as Michael Cody has made his way now past Russ Fowler, who's falling down the timing tower a little bit. He's lost 3 positions in the last few corners, and this is why, as he's got Håkon Juulsen behind him. The Lamborghini on a charge after that incident earlier on, and Russ Fowler trying to take it as easy as he can through these corners, but he's really being pressured by the black Lamborghini, and he runs wide. Oh, and a massive hit into a wall for Russ Fowler, who we spoke to on the podcast, who takes it easy but that engine is now smoking, and hopefully for him, he hasn't used his fast repair yet, and he can get back to the pits, because he's not going to tow that round for 8 minutes.
No, the smoke bellowing out the back end of that Mercedes. So probably the steering's all right, but certainly his engine is a goner. So I'll be wondering if he can make it all the way around here. Certainly we'll be losing an absolute mountain of speed. But here's another replay. Bob Humphrey's been in the walls again here tonight around the Nordschleife. Just loses it slightly, and another side hit into the same corner. So a lot of these
I think
drivers
we need to rename this live stream to Nurburgring crashes. It will get a lot more views on YouTube.
Yeah, probably is. I think the replays have been on more than that. Lydia's back into the pit, so clearly had another issue out on track. That's a what was it? Let's just have a look at the pit stop there. 35 seconds, very much a strange one, unless she felt that she didn't have enough fuel to, like you said, do another lap here. So this will be the final lap, but it will be around about 8 minutes, like you were saying, Dave, after the hour-long race. A lot of the drivers may have to come in for a little bit, as we see Jacob Behrens back in the pit lane as well. So maybe the little tiny extension. Oh, as we see that.
No,
that's a bit of a damaged.
That is not an extension to his GT40. That is a huge loss of bodywork. But he had it down with dot and hoe, so I'm presuming he's lost. Well, we said his spin earlier was in the best position possible at the start of a dot and hoe. It looks like he may have had another one at the end of a dot and hoe. So we just see, he gets on the grass. Oh, no, that's okay. That's all right. So
his steering's damaged.
He's already damaged his steering in this, which is in the second carousel, the mini carousel. No, that's all right. Has he lost it? Yeah, has he carbon copied it to what he did before? Yes, he has, pretty much. Just runs wide into the grass this time, and that has damaged the steering. And sadly, what has been a great drive by Behrens in the GT40 is looking like it's just falling apart again in the last 10 minutes as he heads back out, and actually is still in 15th place with all of that, and running sixth in class at the moment in time. But it has allowed the 22nd leading car of Sander Island is now up into the top 10 on this final lap of the Nordschleife. Kept his nose clean, sat behind Steve Pearce early on, and has just kept it consistent and no damage to his car. And he's going to hate me for saying that, because we know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, you probably kiss of death to him. I mean, this is the final lap. These tyres will be absolutely screaming, so I'm not expecting some blistering lap times here on this final lap, but you can sort of see the difference in the lap times there coming up. So Thomas Cope fastest with an 8:01.040. I mean, that is just outstanding time around the Nordschleife. You can see the next one's down to him at 8:03 from Michael Hoopler, the Pro-Am driver. I mean, that's an exceptional time. And then come down to the AMs, 8:08 for the fastest for Sand Island there. And then the AMs sort of like an 8:21. So you can see the differences in times between the classes as well. So 8:12, that would have been Lydia who had set that time, and you can sort of see the times of Paul Joseph Clist at the bottom in 22nd, 8:21s. Just shows how much Lydia was faster than the rest of the rookie field, but unfortunately had that slight incident. The AMs 8:08, the Pro-Ams 8:03, so you know, relatively close at the top end with a bigger gap between the AMs and the rookies, which you would expect to see being that they are sort of lower I ratings. But 8:12, I mean, I'll hold my hands up. I did a lap around here and I got an 8:46, I think it was. It's just a treacherous track. It's not my bread and butter, this track, that's for sure. But looking back at Casper Tungsten, who is in P7th at the moment, does have Kim Andre Borkland just behind him in 8th, but that won't worry Casper at all. It's not somebody in his class. The nearest one there is Tom Bingham, who's currently in 9th place at the moment. But I'm not really going to call of these positions out until they cross the line, because we've just seen so many incidents here tonight. I'm pretty sure that after this race, a lot of the drivers say, we never want the Nordschleife in the calendar again. It's just been an absolute war of attrition for so many of these drivers. And I feel sorry for Lewis, our production manager there in the background, just clicking that replay button, which must be worn out by now. But this battle at the front between Nikolai Frayne and James Logden. James Logden is not letting this pro driver get away from him, and having a nice little battle, which is probably nice to have on this last lap here. Gives you a little bit of entertainment between two drivers rather than sort of driving out on your own. But look at the front. Thomas Cope sort of absolutely blown the field apart, 30 seconds ahead of Scotty Moakes. Scotty Moakes managing to keep that gap of 5.9 seconds over Aaron Powell in third place. So a great result for both Scott Moakes and Aaron Powell for this round. But Thomas Cope will be the big winner in that battle for the championship overall. Michael Hoopler, we did say that the German, this is his home track, and he did come on last week saying that he's hoping to do quite well here, and he certainly has. Top 4 position. I think this is his second top 4 position overall in the grid. So I believe he did it in Donington Park in race 2 last week as well. So really putting on a charge. And like you said earlier on in the broadcast, Davis, Patrick Thompson is not here tonight. It's a real good opportunity, and Michael's literally grabbed it with both hands at the moment and done everything he could to get that first place over Patrick. Now, Patrick does have 2 drop rounds at his disposal, but what he will have is a 0 score as a drop round, so puts him under a lot more pressure at the moment than Michael, who has pretty much attended every single round, so his drop score rounds will be better than Patrick Thompson. Back in the AMs, we're looking further back. We got Sander Island, who's, like we said before, pretty much just stayed out of trouble. You can just see that car. It's as if he's just driving it out of the pits for the first time. Just kept it nice and clean. Probably one of the only drivers on the track at the moment that does have a relatively 100% clean car. Does have a sizable gap over David Gill behind him to the tune of 21 seconds. So pretty much just needs to get this car around the track. Looking further back in the rookie class, we got Paul Joseph Clist heading out the field. Again, really profiting from Lydia's earlier incident with Darren Doherty coming around turn number 13. But we come into the front, and look how much Thomas Cope literally overtaking one of the amateur drivers there to take the race win here. Thomas Cope start to finish lead, 33 seconds ahead of Scott Moakes, and his main rival, Elliot Hellier, just succumbing into the first couple of laps that sort of took the pressure off Thomas Scott Mokes here coming down the Dotton Hole for the very last time. So a couple of corners for Scott to navigate through to take what will be his best finishing position of the season so far, in second place there for the pro driver. Had a bit of a bad luck in that second race in Donington, but certainly managed to make up for it here at the Nordschleife, coming in a very respectable second place overall. 6 seconds behind him is Aaron Powell for third overall, just coming over the line there as we know. And Michael Hooper not that far behind Aaron Powell, taking that Pro-Am win. And this is that battle that we were watching earlier on between Nikolai Frayne and James Logston, still going at it all the way to the line.
Yeah, it's going to go all the way to the line, but Logston's being sensible, coming home second in class. He needed a bag for points here today. He's had a bit of bad luck this season, and even a spin today has not stopped him getting on the podium. I don't know if you all noticed, but Thomas Cope just sort of rubbed salt in the wounds with an 8-minute flat fastest lap on the final lap. You know, as you do, as Casper Tunstad comes round, and he's going to score another strong result in the championship after last time out at Donington. So he will take third, with Dane coming home and very happy just to get across the line. Kim Andre Borkland, his teammate, in 8th overall, just ahead of Tom Bingham, 4th in class. A great job by the Englishman and our illustrious leader. And here comes Sander Island for the AM category. A great drive, as we mentioned, just keeping it clean all the way. A final lap of 8:12, a decent lap there by Sander. He was pushing on. David Gill, we saw have a spin earlier, but apart from that, kept his nose clean. He will come ahead across the line for second in class, ahead of debutant Michael Cody. What a debut that's been for him, as he comes across the line in 12th overall. And a bit further back, we'll have Hakon Julsen, who is probably wondering, Hakon's probably wondering what happened in terms of that race. He could have been on the podium, but not quite there today, bringing home ahead of Kev Copeland, 6/10 in that class battle. That shows you just how close some of these battles are. But here comes Steve Pearce, going to get on the podium for the AM category. Not really what he was probably hoping for at the start of the race, but he survived. He's come home to get another podium in class that will help his championship position no end. And just behind is Matt with a very damaged front bumper on his car, but he's going to make it home as well, just ahead of that Ford GT of Jakob Behrens. Just not the day for him, but he's absolutely flown in that car here today, and really not, you know, probably what he doesn't deserve. He probably deserves a lot better than that. Joe Soul coming home for Evo SR Black. Evo SR as a team not had the best of days, I've got to be honest, with their two championship protagonists, Chambers and Elliot Hellier, falling off the circuit early on. Whether it was going to the gym or not, we'll debate that one later on. But Joe Soul going to come home 18th overall. Alex Scarrett. These are all the drivers who's been in a little bit of a tiff at some point in the race. We've got Alex Scarrett coming through just behind Daniel Liljevic in there, Howardson in there, and then we'll have Paul Joseph Clisp, who is going to come home as a rookie winner here at the Nurburgring. I would say kind of lucky, because Lydia was streaking out ahead, but Paul Joseph Cliff will take whatever win comes his way. He's had to keep it clean, and he's done so in the Apex Racing Academy car, and will come home 22nd overall and takes the win in the class ahead of Matthew Gerard, who will be the last car to come across the line, just behind Russ Fowler, who is somewhere, not smoking anymore, but he will make it round to a finish, and it's a credit to make it to a finish of a race. Lydia Rosa has already finished third in class. Disappointing for her, but also still a top 3 in class. I know there's only 4 in the class today, but still good points for her in the championship. Could have been a few more, but you know, that's just the way it is. And here comes Matthew Gerard to round out the results. The Kiwi just probably happy to come home, considering I'm not sure what time it is over there. Is it early in the morning for him? So he's only just woke up and then done a good 1 hour of the Nordschleife, just the way you like to wake up in the morning.
1 hour and 10 minutes, so 10 minutes over the time, and it just shows how long this Nordschleife is. But out of a grid of 42 drivers, we have 25 finishers, so certainly near enough over a quarter of the field, unfortunately, deciding to call it a day here at the Nordschleife. But it has been an epic round, and I feel sorry for Lewis for obviously having to show us all that replay. It was probably 80% replay and 20% races. But let's take you through the finishing results. So our race winner today was Thomas Cope with a commanding performance, 33 seconds ahead of Scott Mokes, who's got his best finishing position of the season there in second place. In third place, Aaron Powell, his best finishing position of the season in the Team Evo SR. So one of them did have a good day in third. Michael Hoopla in fourth. Getting that Pro-Am win there. So a great race from the German in his home track. Nicolai Frank came home in fifth. James Logden comes in second in the Pro-Am. Casper Tungsten third in the Pro-Am. Kim Andre Borkland in fifth overall in the Pro Class, 8 on track, ninth. For Tom Bingham, probably his best finishing position of the season. Sander Island comes to the top of your AM drivers in 10th. David Gill in 11th. Michael Cody in 12th. Hakon Johnson in 13th. Kev Copeland in 14th. Steve Pearce in 15th. Mad Sayer 16th. Jacob Behrens in 17th. Joe Sal in 18th.
Yeah, and 19th is Alex Scarat. Just sorry about scrolled down. I'm just trying to work out where I was. Daniel Liljevic in 20th, Hendrik Harrison in 21st, Paul Kliss in 22nd, Jimmy Vart 23rd, Russ Fowler 24th, Matthew Gerard 25th, Gordon Howe 26th, Liddy Rosa 27th. Then we had the retirements from the race, Bob Humphrey 28th, Chris Rance 29th. We saw a few incidents for him. Darren Doherty in 30th must have retired after that incident with Lydia Rosa. Frederick Goldberg in 31st, Lewis McLeverly 32nd, John Tresidder 33rd, Phil Reagan we saw in a few instances 34th, Oscar Christensen retired early on. I mean, look how many pro drivers retired early on. That shows you this place. Matt Loveridge, Elliot Hellier, damage to his championship challenge, Daniel Slater, and also Matty Chambers, who we know was top without the drop scores. So a big day for him in terms of losing points over Brevik, Daniel Merchant and Nigel Stock. I don't think Daniel and Nigel actually even took the start in the end, so not the best of days for them. But we will now finally get on to our interviews. And first up, I think there can't be anybody else we're going to talk to except for Thomas Cope.
Thomas, welcome to the box, mate. A commanding performance there. It maybe looked a little bit easier than it was, certainly at the start of that race. Elliot really putting it to you. Falling by the wayside a little bit earlier, but take us through that race and take us through that last lap. How did you, physically possible, with the tyres the way they were, get an 8-minute lap?
I don't know how the tyres lasted. I was very gentle on the tyres towards the end of the race. I mean, I had 20 seconds on Scott behind, and I just let the tyres cool down a bit and try and muster everything I can to. I wanted to try and get the sub at 8 minutes. It was a shame, but yeah, Scott put some really good pace in, kept me honest. I mean, one mistake and he's right on the backside, if not overtaken. And obviously Elliot at the start of the race, really good pace. I think we were going to have a good battle. Just a shame he made the small mistake and it kind of let me go through on lap 1 and leave from there on.
So obviously Nordschleife is one of them tracks, and I think you just said it perfectly there, is a track that you cannot stop concentrating on because that one little mistake can be sort of the race ender. How do you mentally prepare yourself for a race of an hour long round the Nords to make sure that you can actually finish the race?
Yeah, I mean, mindset, you go into every race the same. You do enough practice where you know the track inside out. I mean, I've put 400 or 500 plus laps at this track, which in relative term, that's multiple 24-hour races and so on. So you kind of know the track inside out, and you know where all the bumps are. You know the tricky sections. Just trying to understand the car on the track. And yeah, you just get smooth and consistent and keep a good steady line, really.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, obviously, with your main protagonist sort of falling by the wayside earlier on in this race of Elliot Hellier and you leading out the championship at the moment, it's got to feel good that with this race win, you're going to be extending that lead at the top of the Pro Championship.
Yeah, it's nothing to go by. I mean, it's still very close. There's a lot of positions and points where Elliot could probably win some points back and maybe come back at me for the end of the season. So it's no letdown. Elliot will be back, and dare I say, he'll probably win another couple of races and try and bring the points closer again. And I'll probably end up missing a race or um, having a few incidents here and there. Some of the tracks coming up aren't my best point, but we'll see. There's a lot of good tracks that I'm okay at as well, and we'll see if we can have some good fighting to sort of round out the championship at the end.
Definitely is. That Pro Championship at the moment at the top of the field is extremely tight, and it's anybody's game at the moment. But it certainly is your night here tonight, Thomas. So congratulations again on your race win. Before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, the whole Olympus Esports squad, all the sponsors, HSR, Grip Engineering, Charles for the opportunities he gives myself and the team, and big shout out to Joseph from Grip Engineering. He's really good on helping me understand the car and get better at my lines. So big shout out to him. Go and check him out on all the socials, and yeah, just all the family getting home on time to practice and run events, and just everyone around me who I'm close with, really, who I talk to. So they know who they are. A big shout out to everyone that I know.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks, Thomas, and look forward to seeing you next week out. But congratulations on the way to win.
Thank you, guys.
There was Thomas Cope there, and obviously there's a lot of drivers on the track that we see that have a lot of support staff behind them, and as we saw there, Thomas got a lot of support behind him. Dave, who have you got stood by, and who are you going to interview next?
I've got the Pro Am winner. Sorry, not Pro Am winner. Am winner. Sander Island. Sander, a great drive by you. Just catch your nose clean all day longer, it looks like.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was my goal this race, just not crash and keep the pace pretty much up. Or yeah, fortunately for me, Pierce crashed out. He was looking very, very strong, but it um, I feel sorry for him
Yeah,
for crashing.
if you come back and watch our stream, you will see that the replay button got right working out with everybody having instances. Steve wasn't the only one, but we've got to admit, straight away we noticed that you were one of the drivers we weren't watching any replays of because you were just keeping it clean throughout. A top 10 it's brought you in the end in terms of overall results. Was that was it just a target from the start just to try and finish a race and then see what happens, or did you think, right, I want to finish in the top 3 of this race?
Yeah, I know I have pretty decent pace around this track, so I was hoping for a win, or at least a podium. But in the overall, I didn't care so much.
And obviously this does boost your championship challenge overall. We now go to Spa for 2 hours. The concentration may not have to be as high as an hour around here, but it's certainly going to be an interesting one in terms of strategy. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, that will be very fun. Endurance racing is something I find very fun. I drove the 10-hour race on Suzuka yesterday with Kim, and we managed to do pretty well there.
So you've had 10 hours of racing at Suzuka, then an hour of a
Yeah.
Nordschleife. I think you'll be looking for a good rest tonight then.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So before we let you go and have your rest, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Um, yeah, shout out to SRN for hosting practice sessions and giving good tips.
Yeah, that's okay. And we'll hopefully see you at Spa next week where you will be looking to try and get another victory.
Yes, I will be there and practice a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Andy, that was Sander Island, the AM winner. I will get it right one day. Who have you got up next?
Well, we have got Paul Joseph Cliss. We'll just see if he manages to take his mic off mute. Paul, are you with us, mate, or are you away? I know he's looks after his kids often, so maybe.
I think he
doing
can't
something.
hear us at the moment in time, so
Yeah.
we'll keep Paul in mind. And
Let's,
who have we got in here?
let's pull in Scott Mokes. Hi, Scott. Welcome to the box, mate. Second overall here today. Finally get a little bit of luck, mate.
Yeah, so finally a little bit of luck came my way. I didn't spin, so that's always good. Quali didn't go my way. Still can't qualify. But yeah, what a track.
It certainly is. I mean, we've seen a lot of the pro field. I think there's 4 drivers that didn't actually finish the race. I mean, even you pro drivers around this track, it's just such a treacherous track when you're trying to push it so hard in a really competitive field. But you managed to keep it nice and clean and looking at your car relatively incident free.
Yeah, relatively. I came close to the barrier two of the laps. A bit of grass cutting went on. But yeah, it was very close. The first lap was obviously eventful, in front and around, which I was extremely lucky to miss that and to get away with no damage. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, we saw you in Donington and a few of the other rounds spinning out. Maybe, hopefully, now this is a change of fortune for you in the championship and a real push on now to be able to get up the rankings. But I mean, it was a great race overall. Next week we've got Spa 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure that everybody is looking forward to it. But how are you feeling about the 2 hours around Spa next week?
Yeah, the 2 hours bit, that's going to be tricky. I'm not going to lie, I was in a puddle of sweat after this one. So 2 hours, I'm definitely going to have multiple fans in the room.
It certainly is, and multiple stops as well, considering we're not changing the setups to give you guys a little bit more fuel. So multiple stops going to be going in there. So strategy is going to be key at that race.
Yeah, strategy is going to be really key. Whether to save the tires and then whether to stagger your pit stops so you're not in the flow with other people or your closest competitors. It's going to be really interesting to see what people end up doing.
Well, definitely is, Scott. But congratulations on your second place, your best finish in the season so far. And hopefully this is a leap board into what will be a good string of results for you. So congratulations on your second place. And before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the Performance Link for setting up the league, and obviously my teammates out there. I'm going to look forward to watching this one back to see how they did and what happened in the race. And obviously, thank you to you and David for commentating and everyone behind the scenes at Performance Link. And obviously, a big shout out to Haley for helping me out this one.
Definitely is, Scott. For congratulations on your second place, and look forward to seeing you in Spa next week. So there was Scott Mokes there, finishing second overall. And I think, Dave, we have now got Paul Joseph Clist, our AM driver. So over to you, mate.
Yeah, we have, Paul, a long race for you guys, even though, not the biggest of classes for rookies today, but you had to keep it clean throughout and took advantage when Lydia had her incident.
Yeah, I took advantage when Lydia crashed. She ran away with the field. She was definitely going to win this race by a massive gap. But yeah, when she crashed, I'm kind of glad. Gave me the lead.
Yeah, and you had to keep it clean. You'll probably look back at the stream and see that we were watching replay after replay of people spinning and all around the same kind of circuit. But a bit like some of the drivers we've already talked to, you just kept it clean throughout. We didn't really see you in any incidents, and that worked well for you today.
Yeah, no incidents for me today. I got to thank Thomas Cope for that. With his YouTube video, pausing, rewinding, playing it again over and over, and then doing about 100 laps practice over time throughout the week to get the perfect race.
And we've obviously got Spa coming up next with the 2-hour event, a bit of strategy to come into it. How do you feel about Spa as a circuit, and especially doing 2 hours around it?
Yeah, I do like Spa. I think the only time I've really raced and committed around Spa is the 24 hours of Spa. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm sure Gerard will take it. But yeah, I'll give him a race.
Yeah, I think the 24-hour will be a good practice, really, for the 2-hour sprint almost after the 24 hours that we'll be doing. But obviously, this pushes you right into the championship challenge with a very strong rookie field. I think even the 4 drivers that race tonight, all of them in with a chance of this championship.
Yeah, with the drop round come in, we've seen the championship, literally like at 1 point in between from first to like fifth, I think it was, which is absolutely amazing. It keeps us on our toes and hoping to do best in the races.
And before we let you go and get some rest after that grueling race, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
You guys, every time I watch the stream back, you guys do a fantastic job. Thomas Cope, Olympus, and I think that's pretty much it.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next time at Spa then.
So
So
there
that
was
was Paul. Sorry, that was Paul Joseph Clift, winner of the rookie category. Have we got time for any more, or is that
I think,
everybody we've got?
yeah, I think that's it. We give Lewis a little bit of a break. You know, he's worked extremely hard in the background there to bring us all the wonderful replays, and I'm pretty sure the drivers will either be wincing or enjoying the fact of how many replays and how many times they were caught on camera spinning out at relatively the same points of the track. Well, that's this round behind us, Dave. Next week out, we got our first of our endurance 2-hour races. I mean, we've gone from 30 minutes last week out in Donington to an hour long in the Nurburgring to 2-hour race in Spa. It's really starting to heat up in the championship, and that round, which comes with a lot more points than the other rounds, is going to be one that the guys want to do well at.
Yeah, the Spa circuit, something most people know and most people enjoy, and it's 2 hours around it will be great fun. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people get on, and we'll bring you all the coverage here on Performance Link.
We certainly will. But from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave Whitehouse here in the booth, and from Lewis Aurora in the production box, who's been a very busy chap tonight. So bless him, and give a big shout out to Lewis, who does a fantastic job. And to all our viewers on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. Give us a thumbs up. It was relatively quiet tonight. Probably all sitting back and enjoying all the replays that were coming out on the stream. But that is probably the hardest round for the drivers down. Looking forward to Spa next week, and it's going to be heating up in the season from here on out. But like I said, from the Nordschleifer, we're going to say good night.